Tonight's show, I'm serving the weekly energy forecast, and we have Heather Exposito as we talk about integrating this divided matrix. And we're answering all your questions with tag team readings coming up right now.
Let's abandon human nature for a mystical adventure. We're building on the vulture.
Hello, beautiful souls. Happy Thursday Night Live. Welcome to the Cruisyverse. How y'all doing? How's the retrograde energy been for the past some odd weeks? It's been interesting. We had the bar balls basket that began on the 20th. So, I don't know. I didn't feel a massive shift as everyone was anticipating. It just felt like the same old. So we have to be very careful how we emphasize these things that we hear in our world. But I do believe, though, as I've been saying, that that's a beginning of a new current, of a new cycle. So it might take time to see that momentum pick up. And that's what we will be seeing, especially with now retrograde being over. So we'll start seeing things kind of lift a little bit and start its progression. But there's been a lot of work behind the scenes. I'm sure all y'all been doing with relationships and disconnecting and integrating and all that great stuff as we've been saying for this month of July and getting things forward when it comes to new communities, new environments, new ideas, all that wonderful stuff. And so we'll see what happens when we talk about the collective read real quickly. I'll do a very quick collective read. And then we have Heather Exposito back as we've been doing our monthlies, actually, and we'll talk about how can we integrate in this divided matrix and what's creating this divisive nature in our matrix, and how can we spot it out, and what can we do to repair it and bring it together. So and we'll also be doing tag team readings, so get your questions in now as I bring up these. Where are my overlays? They're somewhere over here. So hopefully I will not have any issues with tech as I did a couple weeks ago, because that was redonkulous. Okay, so if you want to get your questions, actually those are the wrong prices. We got to put the prices up for Heather and I, and get them in now, guys. This way we can just get things going real quick. It's $25 for one question, $35 for two questions, $50 for a live video with us. And when you enter your question in the PayPal or Venmo, please enter your birth date and time you were born and place you're born, so Heather can actually pull your chart and your question. All right, so this way we can get both of those in. So get them in, and Nina will help you. Our wonderful mom Nina is in the room, so she'll be able to assist with you on that. And again, the PayPal and Venmo links are in the description below. Okay, so get them in, because when we're done, we are done, and we don't want to be too long either. So without further ado, let's get into this collective read here and see what the Spirit has to say as we are embarking on the 23rd of July right now. So let me shuffle these cards. Again, those you don't know, I'm a psychic medium. I don't need the cards. I use them for purposes of this, but I can just call things out like that. But I do these collective reads all the freaking time, and I want some sort of variation because I feel like it's very repetitive every week. Because things will always change week to week. It's more month to month, or sometimes 2 months and 3 months they change. But so let's see. Let's shuffle these cards and see what the energy forecast is for this week. When I say week, I'm talking about like from now to next Thursday, because obviously we're on kind of the end of this week. But what to focus on before you meet with me again. Okay, give me a second here. Oh wow, look at those wands. Okay, just shuffling, and it's been an interesting month too, because there's been a lot of realizations. It's funny I say that, and I pull this six of cups. Or Seven of Cups. There's been a lot of realizations that a lot of us have been making on the internal level, both on the individual self, but also on the collective levels. And that's one thing why I feel like, it'd be great for Heather and I to talk about that. But let me tune into this collective read. Give me a couple seconds, and let me see what we got for you. Okay. Okay, it's interesting that I pulled the 2 and the 3 of Wands. Now, this is really, the Wands are very emotional cards for me. They could be creative, but a lot of times it hits emotionally. And I feel like with the 2 of Wands is saying, do you really have your goals intact? Do you really know what's beyond? Are you seeing what's beyond? And the things that you've been trucking along in your life, are those the things that are coming with you in the future? Is everything here coming with you to the future? And, we assume so, but when we actually ask ourselves that question, do that introspective work, we might find out actually, no, they're not. They shouldn't be coming with me in the future. Maybe this relationship is not coming with me in the future. And so, we have to look beyond and have a broader scope. As I always say, objective and unaffected. We have to have a broader scope of, what is actually on the horizon? What is on my horizon? And if I'm moving forward in the way that I feel is spiritually ordained and ordained by the soul, what does that look like on that horizon? And, and a lot of times if we do take that introspective outward approach to our, looking at what's on our horizon, we might realize there's more than I thought that would be there. There might be things that I actually feel like I might want to do that I never thought I wanted to do before. So it's a very simplistic realization of newness, of expansion, of adventure, I would say, is the time now. It's interesting because the death card came about too, because death card is all about transformation. A lot of people see the death card, they're like, oh no, someone's going to die, or they think it's all bad. It's like, no, it's transformation. Now, if this came in a medical read, then you might want to be careful. Someone might be passing away. But in this case, it's really all about transformation and newness and a rebirth. And this time is really, really calling for this. You've been hearing the calling of that. You've been following the energy currents that have been saying, it's time to put this to a close. It's time to transform these relationships. It's time to transform your work environments. It's time to transform your perception of life, your emotional perspective. It's time to transform those things. But the only way you can do so, the only way you can look on the horizon, the only way you can be intuitive enough to find out what is actually there for you in the future, it's break through with the Seven of Cups. It's break through all the illusions, all the bullshit. And I have been really, really emphasizing this massively since I've been online the past 2.5 years, because there's so much bullshit. And, and of course, with a lot of cognitive dissonance that people have, they hold on to belief and they secure it because it's like life or death. And so we have to be very careful about the things that, we are participating in, the things that we are engaging in, the loops that we are in, and say to ourselves, is this really ideal for my future? Is this really in tune to my future? And are these people that are before me, are they tricksters? Are they imposters? Are they the buzzword of the decade, narcissists, right? And so we really need to be keen on these things. And sometimes it just takes, like, especially with the Two of Wands, just take a step back for a moment and have a broader view, a broader scope of your life and what's going on in and out of it. And how are you responding with things that are coming in and out of it, And so it's really the time now that we actually start focusing and emphasizing on it. And I love how the Six of Wands also came, because then you'll be triumphant. I actually can kind of love how, like, the holographic nature with that rainbow is coming through the card there. It's pretty cool. You will be triumphant, not just conditionally, but emotionally. Because at the end of the day, imagine that you feel content. Imagine you don't feel any deprivation. Imagine you feel like, I'm kind of on top of the world. But what does that mean? It sounds so cliche, I know. But what does on top of the world mean? It means that you're not affected by it. It means that you're kind of gliding through. And like I always say, you're using your intuition, your psychic abilities to maneuver through this matrix in a sense of saying, like, yeah, there's chaos there, but I'm going here. And you understand how to squeeze on through to find your way, to really kind of express your life the way it's intended. Right. And even still, this is not a message of saying put your head in the sand, because even though we're maneuvering through, we're still aware it's there. We're still understanding the currents, and we're learning from the currents around us, because even the currents around us make it very challenging for us to navigate, maneuver. And that's how we learn too. But we all can find that peace, and we all could be very victorious in that way. But collectively, things are still been kind of like, we're in this, I would say the threshold is quite low in a sense of how we're able to really kind of maneuver and how we're able to bounce forward and expand on things, because we're meant to, like I've been saying since May, defragment, fragmentation to integration. And this is the phase many all still fragmenting and purging things out of your lives. And so, but many are actually integrating. I see a lot of people traveling. A lot of people are finding their new homes. A lot of people find their new communities, and they're starting to do so. If not in them now, they're creating for them now for the future and for the months ahead, so to speak. So we need to understand, why. Why, I always say, when we have these retrogrades or we have these moments where it feels very stuck and pause and dense, we're supposed to pause. We're not supposed to have much of a velocity of where we go, and it's supposed to be somewhat limiting, so we stay in a position to where we can rearrange, reorganize, reposition ourselves, and that's the point right now. Right. And so, so very simple message for this week. Nothing overly philosophical, nothing overly complicated. Actually, the whole point is I'm trying to simplify lately, and this is about simplification. If it works, great. If it don't, get rid of it. See how simple that is? And it's interesting. I just pulled this today in another video, and we're pulling the Four of Wands again, which is about make sure you understand your foundation. Is your home life in order? Is your, even your emotional foundations, your intellectual foundations, are your emotions running amok? Is your intellect all over the place? Do you have a structure? Do you have a foundation of what you believe in and what you feel and what your intentions are? Is there a nice foundation to those things? And that's where you want to start doing that inner work to understand, because when you have that foundation set, then, as we said with the Two of Wands, and it's easier to take a step back with the Three of Wands too, and to look beyond and starting to seeing, embarking on that new journeys of what's ahead, both intuitively. Because although we're creating a lot of that, there's a lot we've already laid out too spiritually for us that we also want to be intuitive enough to tap into and to follow. Right. And so, yes, we have a destiny, but, of course, I love that the Wheel of Fortune has also come up in this position too, because it's all about cycles. And it's not even just about a cycle, new cycle. It's about how long you're taking to fulfill that cycle. You might ordained and have a divine purpose to have a cycle to where it's like, this is my cycle, but you might take a lifetime to fix one cycle when you can actually repair that cycle mid-incarnation and then start a new cycle, in that same incarnation. Some people don't. So, we are actually very much in control of the timing, and that's why psychics can sit here and read, well, this is rendering, this is the timing here, what's happening, because of how you're growing, how you're evolving. That's what's creating the timing and the momentum of a prediction, so forth. But at the end of the day, you can drag out a cycle too, and then, in this incarnation, not complete it. In your next incarnation, you have to start all over with that. So let's be keen on that. Let's understand what cycle are we in emotionally, spiritually, and intellectually, so we can grab the lessons, express what we have to express, and evolve, right? Very simple, guys. Very simple motivational message today. But I found this interesting. This came up today because I did a video today about like picking a path, so to speak. But this is the collective, card pull at the end. So it's nice that it came out again for you guys. So if you didn't see that, go watch. I think it's on Instagram. I didn't post it on YouTube yet. I'm all over the place on my social media. I don't know. Anyways, but we will start seeing again that lift, this week going into next week and also into August as well. Many of you have already been seeing that as well too. So it's a great time. And so I guess here, Three of Pentacles too, just plopping out. This is community, find your own community, so just more confirmation there. All right. So without further ado, we're going to give a quick message from Nina, and then we'll be with chit-chatting with Heather. Quick message from Nina.
Thursday crew, what is up? Happy end of retrograde. Get that sucker out of here. And happy intro to Leo season. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to do a channel message tapped in fresh for y'all. When I was tapping into the energy today, Spirit connected me to Kuan Yin, and I work with Kuan Yin pretty often. And the message she kept showing me was get your pen and paper out, get your oil pastels out, and draw what's coming through. And when I was drawing what was coming through, the symbology kept being shown to me of that of a lotus. And I think it's so fitting for Leo season, because the message that Kuan Yin kind of shared with me, here's the art, is this muddy kind of dirty water underneath doesn't change the fact that you're still a lotus. And similar to how Leos know and command a room and have that confidence and energy, going into this season, it's really all about your identity, all the things that are multifaceted about you, like I've said in a previous channel message, and knowing that just because that mud is there, that dirt is there, it doesn't change the fact that you're a freaking lotus. And going into Leo season, it's your time to allow the stars around you to shine bright alongside with you. It feels like a lot of emphasis on your inner child as well. Leo and inner child go hand in hand. And this kind of playful abundance energy that keeps coming through, it all really, really is dependent on how you begin to accept all parts of you. With that acceptance, Spirit saying take a risk. The more you're learning about yourself and the more you're sitting with yourself, begin to take the risks necessary going into this month. And with that, you'll start to actually feel the magnetic energy of beings resonating with you as a freaking lotus.
All right. You're a freaking lotus. You hear that, Heather? Uh-oh. Heather, we're frozen.
There you go. Am I frozen?
Yes. Well, it's jittery. I think I can hear you, but you're a freaking lotus,
Oh, good.
as per Nina says.
I love Nina's messages. Hey, if I freeze and I look funny, you have to just kick me off. Don't let me freeze looking funny.
I know, it's always, every time we freeze, it's always like, "Ugh," it's always some weird, like spasm or something. I love that. I 2 weeks ago, there was like, my camera kept cutting out like 5 times. I don't know if you were in the chat that time, and it was just like always just like weird position. I'm like, Jesus Christ. Anyway, so how you doing, Heather? How's it going? Good to see you again.
I'm
this
good,
month.
Scott. How are you?
Good. From what we talked about from 15 minutes ago. Doing good. So why don't you give us a little rundown too, the astrology for this week and what you see astrologically too, especially at the conclusion of retrograde.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, there's so much going on. I mean, well, hallelujah. Mercury retrograde is over as of like 3 hours ago. I don't know about everybody else, but that was I'm going to say a rough retrograde. It was bumpy. There was a lot of lessons, I think, to be learned and a lot of emotions to be felt. And it's over. However, it is in shadow until August 6th. And if you don't know what that quite means, because it's like, oh, it's over, my computer's going to work again. Well, shadow period is kind of like if you had a wound, like a real wound, not an emotional wound, like a real one, and it healed, you're good to go, but like there's a scab there and it's like still itchy for a couple weeks. That's Mercury in shadow. Yeah. So we have that to deal with. And, I think a lot of that is a lot of what we went through with that retrograde the last 3 weeks is kind of reevaluating what we thought was a comfortable zone for us, but maybe it actually wasn't true comfort. Like I always kind of joke and say comfort food like only leads to discomfort, right? Because it's like the fried heavy stuff. You're not really comfortable. You actually end up super uncomfortable. And I think that's what that retrograde was showing us. And, Mercury's been in Cancer forever because it started in Cancer, it retrograded in Cancer, and now we have a little bit longer of it being there. So it's like the never-ending Cancer transit.
Yeah, and I feel like this time too, a lot of people have been showing their true colors too. Right. And I think those who have been feeling exposed are kind of panicking too. So I think it's brought a lot of emotional transparency too. And I think, you and I were talking about too, like even friendships have been revealing themselves to those who maybe you thought were friends, or you see this like kind of distance. You feel this kind of lack of integration with people you thought were friends. And so there's been a lot of those revelations. And I had a couple of people too that were, just kind of, quickly showed their true colors, of new relationships. And I'm just like, gotcha. And I was kind of like a domino effect, like one after one after one after one. And so, and then I've also been seeing those who've actually really been very supportive, and I think that's also been something that we've been able to look at as well. So, and so, have you been noticing that too with a lot of, I know you, cause you're a hairstylist too. So you talk to a lot of people. I'm sure you've been seeing a lot of that as well, right? When it comes to like people and relationships pulling apart and,
yeah, I've seen it in my own life. Actually where that retrograde hit me was in my natal house of friendships. And so I've seen so much of that in my own life. I have so many people coming in telling me about it's not really relationships, romantic relationships. It's more like business partnerships, friendships, things that they're personal, but they're not that like intimate personal relationship.
Right.
And there's a lot of that is, it's, they're falling apart, but it's because they no longer serve you, which is the easy answer. It doesn't always feel easy, but that's what it is. They don't serve you anymore. And with where we're going and all these doors that are opening, which we can talk about also astrologically, you can't carry that same old luggage.
That's true. It's true. And I also been starting to realize too that associations are important too, especially with business, any type of, work-related, professional relationships. It's like, when you start realizing how other people are, I'm like, well, I don't even want to be associated with that, or I want to disassociate from that type of behavior. I want to dissociate from, because at the end of the day, the simple phrase, hang out with trash long enough, you start to stink. And I'm not trying to be very cold about people in relationships, but sometimes if people are doing things that are very, negative and dense and taking advantage of other people, you're going to be lumped in with that. And that's one thing that a lesson has been calling to me hardcore. And I've been seeing people that have been maybe not so bright in a spotlight that I'm wanting to work with, that I'm wanting to integrate with, versus those who are maybe have all the bling and all, you know what I'm saying? So, because I'm like, there's a lack of genuine energy there. And I think that's where this fragmentation comes in, right? And I think the divisive nature, we call it the divided matrix, because I think right now a lot of people have been very self-focused. I don't know if you've noticed that too, but that being revealed in one's lives is like, again, the narcissist, the selfish people have been really coming out, and the spotlight's been shining big and broad on those types of people and in relationships. Do you feel the same thing with that too? I mean, I think it's all about the revelation period for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I actually had a really interesting conversation today with a dear friend of mine, and she's a client. She's an addiction specialist and she's a brilliant therapist. But one thing that she pointed out was that everybody is kind of living in this world of, where they feel gaslighted, right? That's like a big thing. Like that's kind of like the new, and I know that is such a it's such a pop word, right? Like
right.
It's
the buzzword, right?
Yeah, we hear it all the time, but really it's true. We never really know what's going on, and speaking of the divided matrix, we never really know the truth. You can watch all the true news, news outlet channels, and and the ones that are not, they're not biased, right? Sure. And hear all the stories, and it's like we never really know what's going on. So it's kind of put society in this place of like, I'm not going to connect with you because I don't trust anything, so I couldn't possibly trust you. Right. There's a lot of trust that's that people don't have anymore.
Yeah. But I think that's good because, I mean, like religion, every religion is the best and only religion, right? And that's the only truth. So we notice that with everything. So I think collectively, and I think since 2025, we've all been purging that kind of mental enslaved mentality when it comes to religion, politics, and our world. So naturally, when we start pulling out of these ideologies and these systems, we're going to be very untrustworthy, right? We're not going to trust, which is good because then it teaches us how to really use our discernment. We're all intuitive. We all have intuition. We can all sense and smell it out because as we are resurrecting our consciousness to more of a 5D perspective, we all are, even through all this chaos, it's pushing us to, that the one thing that you're going to need as things evolve is your intuition, is your discernment, and to see through the bullshit, as you said in the collective read, and seeing through the illusions. And it only requires you to question, and have a healthy level of skepticism, but, there's a bit, and those things cause a lot of divides, right? And so, and you and I talked about too, the divides, especially within our own spiritual communities, right? And what would you classify a lot of divides in our spiritual communities? Like, how would you sum that up? Like, what creates a divide in our own spiritual communities?
I think what creates the divide is it's kind of like this, honestly, what it is at the end of the day, it's this, I'm going to preach, but I'm not going to walk the walk. Yeah. And I know we touched on that last time you and I were on together, but it spews out. You can see right through it when people are living like that. Mm-hmm. They will get on, and I'm going to say get on camera or, whatever platform they use, their podcast, whatever, and they will preach at you what's going to happen, how you need to be. But like, have you left your house in a week? Right. I don't know,
right. Did you change your underwear? Did you even shower today? What are you talking about?
Right. Yeah. And when's the last conversation you had with somebody? That's it, and that can be, brought into the whole polarization of society. Like, when's the last time you had a conversation with someone in the gay community to hear like what they're going through, or someone, a person of color in that community? When's the last time you sat down, with people or expanded? You just said the word horizons in your collective read. to actually know what's going on. So I think the biggest divisive, thing in the matrix is these people that are preaching, but they're not really walking the walk. And intuitive people, the people that are watching you, Scott, and following your work, they're intuitive. They know. They can see it from a mile away.
Yeah, they better be, because I really want them to, because I had a client saying that, they went to this reader and this person, I shouldn't fly this month. It's like, no, like, you're good. Like, no fear mongering. And I was even saying, like, you can't trust everybody. You got to take everything as a grain of salt. And I said, even what I say, like, don't hold on and grasp onto what I say. Even question what I tell you too, and use your discernment, and you'll find who aligns. And it's not even so much that the spiritual leaders are not walking the walk. I've been seeing a lot lately not knowing how to really navigate their own shit and not navigate their own challenges, because light workers are going to go through own humanistic challenges too, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's even better to do so and showing your audience or whoever that what you're going through. But many are hiding that, putting on a front where they're just want to showcase it, and they don't know how to process, right? And so, and I can't tell you how many, clients come to me and are like, I just had a reader with this TikTok psychic, had 5 million, followers, and they were off. And I had a client come to me saying they went to, had booked a reading with a reader, and it's been a year. There's been like no shows, and so many reschedules, and I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? Like how? So to me, the way we stop that divisive nature, we have to call it out, because then I'm thinking, how many people are allowing this momentum of, oh well, they rescheduled 20 times and they no showed 5 times, and or they're on the phone doing a reading while they're like doing the dishes and it's like, why do we tolerate that? And I think that's how we stop this divisive nature, especially in our own communities, is that we have to call it out. We have to be vocal about that. We have to shine a light on it and stop allowing it and stop pacifying it. And so I think that's a major indication too that that people are not. I've been seeing a lot of people are not saying anything about it. I'm like, and I told my client, like, why don't you say anything for a year about this? I'm like, I can't even be 2 minutes late for a session and I'm panicking, and I'm sure you too with your clients, and so, and I've been getting a lot of that for the past couple of years since I've been online about these other online and, spiritualists. And so I think that we have to call it out. So then, when more people call things out, like, when people with sexual harassment, abuse, like one comes out, then they all come out because they feel comfortable. Same thing here. Yeah. Shine the light on it. Because what happens is then people who are genuine are trying to show up, like, we get lumped in with that crap. And that's why I've been like, huge lessons for me has been, association. And I think we all have to be very careful about like who we're associating with and what what communities we're associating with too, because then we end up being lumped in with that. And that energy, for those who are, maybe susceptible to energy, will be pulled into a lot of that negativity,
Yeah. Yeah, I think growing up, a lot of our parents said, careful who you hang out with, you are who you hang out with. And like,
right.
While that's annoying to hear as a teenager, it does hold true a little bit. I know for myself, I can be easily influenced. So I will try to walk around with this like higher morale. And if I'm like hanging out with someone that's like, super fun and we have a good sense of humor we have the same sense of humor, I can all of a sudden start to like lower my morale a little bit.
Yeah.
And I know that about myself, and that's something I've learned right at the ripe old age of 41 or however old I am. Lost track. I'm just kidding. You got to watch that, because where I want to go in this life and what I want to help the world with, I can't do that. I have to stay at that same place that I want to be at, that I feel like I should be at.
Sure. And a lot of intuitive empaths easy fall victim to that, and kind of can be persuaded with energy and just like connect, because at the end of the day, we've been it all, we've done it all in previous incarnations. So it's like, I was that gossiper before. And so, so I'm going to integrate with this group of people who are gossiping, and I'm going to gossip too. And so then you get wrapped up because you've been you're familiar with it before. And so that's where we lose sight of ourselves. And then, and then a lot of that resentment of not speaking up is what creates a lot of division too. So we can talk about, these, these false prophets, so to speak, causing division. But the fact that we hold resentment and don't do anything about it also creates more division and creates more isolation with ourselves. And we can even see that with the political sphere.
Yeah, I think it discounts us and our work too, right?
Yeah.
Like for not calling the truth out, because it's like, well, if that person's standing next to that shady soul, what is that? Again, it's back to the you are who you hang out with kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like if you're condoning a certain behavior by not saying something, what does that mean for you?
Yep. And that's important now, because as the energy currents really start to pick up, and they have been, it's just a lot of that picking up of that current has been done internally and subconsciously. So I think a lot of people look for these energy currents for like the external world to shift and change. It's been chaotic in the world, a lot of fires, a lot of things going on with weather. And so, the collective is upset. The collective is crying, is bleeding, so to speak, is on fire in that sense. And we're seeing that manifest. But the thing is we have to understand, okay, so what do we do to make that better, to resolve that? As simple as that sounds, right? As childish as that sounds, what can we do to make that better? How can we integrate? So the first thing I was going to say is, again, calling things out, putting it on the table, shining the light on the BS is number one. What ways do you think is important for us to bring that integration in?
Yeah, we saw so much divisiveness in the world, right? Back in starting in 2016 it's always been there, but let's just talk about when it got hot. Okay.
Yes, exactly. Right. Exactly.
Yeah. And, again, working in my day-to-day job where I have all walks of life coming in. And then I'm also working alongside somebody who also has all walks of life coming in.
Yeah.
And you hear all different sorts of opinions, right? And it's really easy to get really up in arms about it and start an argument. And I want you to hear my opinion because it's right. There's that, we've all been there. We've all heard the stories. We've all experienced that. I think one way to help integrate divisiveness when it comes to that, so yes, call it out for sure. I think also too, when someone has a difference of opinion, I think there needs to be a little bit of grace to listen and understand that they only know what they know, right? So someone living somewhere and associating with people that aren't part of communities that are maybe being mistreated right now in society, and maybe they've never experienced that. They don't know anybody in those communities. So they have kind of an ignorant mindset about it, and that's unfortunate. I feel like I brought this this documentary up last time we were on, but I'm going to bring it up again because for a different reason though. Because last time we were talking cults, but this time I want to talk about this lady's angle. I know. I'm sorry. So this lady's angle with this documentary was she went in and instead of blowing up this cult, this polygamous cult right away, she went in with love and compassion to hear what was going on so that she could ultimately go in and fix the situation and call it out. Right. That was her angle. And I feel like if we want to get in the hearts of people, that their hearts need to be softened and their mindsets need to be elevated, you need to get in there a little bit to understand where they're at.
Yes.
You got to meet them where they're at so that you can help elevate it. And I think that's going to help integrate, all of this divisiveness, because the yelling and the screaming back and forth, it's not working. And we see that.
Yeah. But I also think that opinions should remain personal. The opinions should not be about anybody else. It should not be projected on anybody else. And once we stop having opinions about how other people are supposed to live their lives, I think it changes a lot because you don't have a right to have an opinion about how someone else lives. Just like they don't have a right to have an opinion about how you live. And so I think that's been very much saturated with religion, with politics, and triggering this. It's almost like gaslighting, intellectual gaslighting, and emotional and empathetic gaslighting in our culture. To say, well, I wouldn't live like that, so my opinion matters. No, it really doesn't matter. other though? You know, and how is what they do affecting you, especially being gay? It's like, how does a gay person affect you when what they do behind closed doors is their thing, you know? And so we have to ask ourselves, is my opinions something that will be beneficial to myself to evolve, or are my opinions all about what other people do or don't do? Because then you're just keeping yourself stuck and in contempt of what somebody else does or does not, which makes them the dictator of your happiness and the dictator of your misery. So, you know, another thing for me
unfortunately, those... Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a delay. No, go ahead. You were saying?
Oh, I was just going to say, unfortunately, those people, they don't stop to think if their opinion, if they shouldn't give it or not. They just give it.
I know, but we have to,
you know what I mean?
But we have to start like looking, because there's a lot of people that are just, I would say, on autopilot. Right? They're just saying what they're feeling because of religion, because of culture, because of whatever the case is. And they just kind of inherited these beliefs. And so they're in this kind of psychosis about like how things should be. So they form these opinions. But if they actually were to look and say, wait a minute, why do I have an opinion about somebody else? They might deter and retract those opinions and be more understanding, because many people are just stuck in that psychosis and just have to be told, do you have the right to have an opinion about somebody else's life? And they might say, probably not. What am I doing? You know, and so so there's a lot of people, I feel like, that if you kind of give that inspiration to think this way, they would, and they might start thinking like, yeah, why am I?
Right. I've stopped people in their tracks with stuff like that when they're just kind of like going on and on and on, and I'm like mid highlight and there's no getting out, and and I've said, well, have you thought about this? And it stops people in their tracks when you approach it with like a question, like, have you thought, like how you said, have you thought about why like your opinion matters to like this or that or the other? And they're like, it's like when you ask somebody a question, all of a sudden they have to answer it, and they have to be taken off that autopilot.
Right. I mean, it's like, it's with gay people. We use gay people or trans people because that's a big topic people are like enforcing their opinions on. It's like, do you know what it's like to live as a gay person? Do you know what it's like to have these feelings of being a transgendered person? You don't. So how can you have an opinion? Then people say, oh, well, you know, I don't have to be brain surgeon to understand about cancer. Yeah, it's different as far as like, you know, understanding about like the walk of someone's life and having an opinion about the walk of someone's life if you don't quite understand it. Because if you did, you wouldn't judge it. Because to me, judgment comes from the lack of understanding, right? And the lack of being objective. And so, because otherwise, like, well, then people just live their lives, and, you know, it's interesting. I care for them. I hope they find their way. You know, there'd be more of that compassion, which doesn't exist. And I don't find that much in the spiritual communities either. There's been a lot of not of that. I've seen communities of people just talking about people's looks, talking about, you know, so much like nonsense, you know, and just, I'm like, it's embedded everywhere. But to me, another thing for me, a point that where we can really kind of make more integration is stop entertaining the divisive nature. You know, and so it's just like we are putting in pedestals these people who have all these horrible, you know, I think we pretty much understand it exists now. So now we got to stop entertaining it. Right? Because, you know, the way you show something better is when you be better, obviously. Right? And I think that if we just perform better and you stop trying to fight against now that we know it already exists, we become more of that light. I know it sounds cliche, but then that becomes more evident. That becomes more of something that becomes more powerful instead of emphasizing, you know, these horrible opinions. So we got to stop entertaining these communities, these people and ideologies and ideas and so forth. You know what I mean?
Oh, I couldn't agree more. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that is what made it explode so much and get people so angry with each other with, like you said, things that don't really pertain to them or their life. You go about your way that wants to disapprove of whatever you think is disapproving, you know, like go do it. But, you know, stop trying to project it onto everybody else.
Right.
And it was highlighted. And so it kept growing like a cancer. It kept growing.
Yeah. It's true. I think we also have to be very keen on people's intentions. You know, what is someone's intentions? What is the motive? And I think people need to start questioning that with everything. because then you can start answering the questions of, well, that maybe their motive is to sell me something, or maybe their motive is very ego driven, or maybe they just want to be on top of it all. Maybe it's all about themselves, and maybe they don't really care about people, or maybe they're like, what, their motive is actually really to help and to care, and they're just trying their best. And so if we actually take a step back too and say, what is the motive and the intention of these politicians, of these spiritual leaders, of these friendships, of these relationships that I'm in, these work relationships, and if you always come with that question first, then you can get a good read, because again, we all have intuition. Whether or not your psychic abilities are, expanded or not, because I always say when you practice intuition, it leads to psychic ability, right? And so I think we do have to ask those questions initially of everything. What would be the motive here? What's the intention? Right? Because that will ding, ding, ding your discernment like right away.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what we're seeing is energetically, that's kind of naturally happening. People are looking at what others' intentions are, and that's what's kind of severing some of these partnerships and friendships, is because they're seeing the intention behind it, right? And so it's forcing that everyone to kind of move on from that relationship. And I think the universe has been offering us that with some of these transits and stuff that we're seeing.
Oh yeah. Oh, the psychic currents are insane, especially karmically. There's been a lot of karmic resolve coming to come to close for a lot of people, which is definitely shaping people's perspectives and personalities too. And I also feel like this, when I look collectively, I mean, I knew this period was coming years ago, and I always say that it's going to be chaotic, it's going to fragment before we start becoming very collective. And so, especially with our political sphere, we're starting to recognize it was divisive. So now we can see the opposition, the dichotomy of people's opinions, people's beliefs. But then now that we've spent so much time fighting with that, now more and more people start to realize, is that really important? Does this really matter? Is that really best for everybody? And so I've been seeing a lot of people merging away from the divisive nature to become more understanding, a little more tolerable. And so it's a process, but I've been seeing the process take its form for a while, and I definitely feel like, by the end of this year, I think that most people will be the majority of people will be on the same page, with at least with politics and our culture, where our culture needs to head, But I would tell people this, that if you don't feel trusting right now, that's a good thing, because it's always great to have a healthy level of skepticism with everything that you are consuming or watching or entertaining. This way you can take a step back and ask those important questions, so you don't fuel the things that are causing such division any longer.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I just think that discernment has just grown so much, which, like you said, is necessary, but it definitely affects the more personal relationships in our life,
True.
Because your friend next to you that's always been your friend, now you're starting to kind of question it. So it's an interesting time for relationships and partnerships.
It is. It sure is. But
I feel like circles are getting small.
But for a reason. I mean, again, I'm saying a lot of bumper stickers tonight, but it's true. Like, it's quality over quantity, and it's true, because when you have something solid, it has somewhere to build. It has some place to grow. And I'm just looking, I've been seeing a lot of these like leaders and these faux leaders falling, and the Tate brothers just got arrested for, graping and trafficking. I'm like, finally, so we're starting to see one by one, slowly, these things being diminished out of our culture. So, but we should be also celebrating these little achievements of exposing, the falsehoods and all that wonderful stuff too, because that's a wonderful thing. This guy was leading, like, I don't know, they had so much money, and the toxicity they were spewing, and and the fact that even had a pedestal, is
wild,
crazy to me.
Wild, right? Mind-blowing. Yeah.
I mean, the freedom to have the pedestal is fine, right? Because we can agree, like, everyone has the freedom to say what they want to say, but the fact that people were actually following that stuff, there was a lot of people following, like, that was asinine to me. But see, like I said a couple months ago, I was like, these crutches will be falling. So there's been many men that relied on the Tate brothers for their masculine advice, and so boom, that crutch has been pulled from them. right? The religion, boom, that crutch will be pulled from them, especially when extraterrestrials, those files come out. It would definitely contradict religion, so.
Oh, yeah.
As I know you love the ET extraterrestrial stuff.
I do. You have no idea. Oh my gosh, I do. I love it so much. I think a lot of this too, we have some node movement going on right now astrologically.
Tell us, yes.
And the North Node is moving out of Pisces and into Aquarius, which means the South Node is moving from Virgo into Leo. But I think we're seeing a lot of the nodes, for anybody that doesn't know, it's kind of like our karmic journey. And, they change signs like every 18 months. But I think that there's kind of like this death of like this false reality that we've been seeing, or exposure of false realities, or, just all of that kind of like what's coming to light. And now when these nodes move here in just a couple days, it's going to be, glass ceilings are going to be shattering, and people are really going to be following like their true heart's path. And so, I think we're still going to see the trickling effect of all this stuff going down, which is great. Like, out with the cockroaches, man. If we found a pesticide for these cockroaches, like, spray that shit everywhere. I'm over it.
Get some bleach.
I do. Like, there's nothing. Yeah, get some bleach, like Clorox cleanup, man. It kills them. No. There's nothing that drives me more nuts than these awful people that have these like cult followings.
Yeah. I mean, it's with everything. I think people, it's more to me about the need of a lot of people to have a savior, a crutch, like we were talking about before. I mean, look at religion. Look at like Madonna's like they had their albums out, and these Madonna fans are everywhere posting everything Madonna, and they're like, and I see comments, I need this to go #1. I need this album to go good. I've seen comments like that, like on my Facebook, and like, I need this song to be hit. It's like, what do you mean you need the this is just someone else's out. Like, they identify with these things, and that's a huge part of the problem. And so, when these crutches get pulled, and I think that we need a lot of us who have been in tune to show our compassion to those people because it will be chaotic for them. As I've been saying, it will be chaotic when they're like, their crutch has been pulled, their Andrew Tate has been pulled, their Donald Trump has been pulled, their religion has been pulled, right? They're going to need some sort of something to find their balance again, because they've identified with these things so much. And what we have to be focusing on right now is like, we can't be identifying with things outside of ourselves. We can relate, but people confuse relation with identity. Oh, well, that Madonna's my identity. It's like, oh, is it though? Like, is your political party your identity? Like, really, is it though? So I would just kind of like close with that, because this is a very social conversation, nothing like overly philosophical or spiritual in a sense, but I feel like these conversations are what brings spirituality to the forefront. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, yeah. And it's where the need for something, for a belief greater than just yourself and what's around you, something spiritual, right, is needed, because not in a crutch kind of way, but in like just a higher faith kind of way.
But so many people who are looking for a crutch, they don't go to that part. Right, just like that's the part of highness. And so I think we just have to understand I think a lot of this will come to personalization. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of this stuff we could be more personalized, and which I think will be a wonderful thing. So it's new times ahead, and I've always said this isn't Armageddon, even though it feels like we're going through the trial of tribulations. But like I always say with Revelation in the Bible, it's always about the rapture, right? We go through trial of tribulations, then we have the rapture. But to me, it's just a resurrection to 5D consciousness, and we're more in tune, more intuitive, and more discerning, more spiritual, or more mystical. And I think that's where we have to look forward to. And
absolutely.
What's your really take as we close this and get into live readings? Because I always feel that AI is the thing that can help ground us to be more spiritual if it's used right, because there's a duality to what it can be and cannot be. It's evident it will be there, and so I know a lot of people in the spiritual community is like, oh, anyone who's AIs, they're like, no, it's like we can't be that extreme, but we also have to take control over it. And I also feel that if we learn it more, or allow others to learn more, this way AI is not in the hands of just a few corporations that can potentially cause damage. So I want to encourage people to learn. It's open open, and they could build their companies and have more control, and we learn more about it. But what has been your position, with AI and that integration?
I'm going to be really honest. Yeah. It's not something that I am so overly educated on that I can give this like really strong opinion about. But here's my opinion so far. My opinion thus far is that it is really valuable, and it is great, and it can take us to great places. We saw that with the internet, right? When the internet came out, it can take us to great places. However, like you just said, if it gets out of our control, it gets tricky, right? And so now you hear people say things like, I hate social media. I hate the internet. I want to go somewhere where I don't have Wi-Fi, because it can have that effect on us where it kind of gets in and it, it gets too big. It's too big for its britches, right? I'm somebody that if we could go back to landlines, I would be totally cool with that.
I just got rid of my landline a year ago. Can you believe that? I had a landline up until last year.
That's bring it back. But if I'm making like a budget, I'm like getting out my ruler with like the graph paper. That's how I roll.
Yep.
But I think it's valuable. I don't know. I think it's going to be one of those things that gets a little bit out of hand, and I've already seen the effects of it. A lot of people say to me, "Oh, well, you do hair. AI can never take your job." Well, guess what? I've had a handful of people that have come in that have either lost their job or their husbands have lost their jobs to AI.
Yeah.
And so I think that's where it gets a little tricky. If there's too much human replacement, and I don't know how to control that. I don't know what the answer is to that.
And that's why I feel like if more people who are interested learn about it, like on the ground level, they can find ways to implement it in a way that could be beneficial and not so extreme. Because right now we have a couple corporations that are really in control of that. That's dangerous. And so I feel like the more people that want to learn, who are like part of our civilization of good intentions, can help to bring that balance, so the shift isn't so extreme. Because I always predicted there's going to be a universal basic income, to help to integrate when AI becomes really dominant. So there will be that I would say buffer period. I always felt that predicted a long time ago in that. So I do feel that will be coming, especially the collapse of the dollar and becoming more digital currency. And so there will have to be a transition period for that, so we can sustain. So I feel that's coming too, But someone commented too about calling out the bullshit is not curing the disease. It's like, well, first we have to expose the disease in order for it to be cured. So in order for the disease to be cured, we have to know what it is first. Other people have to identify and understand that's a disease, and then we can act accordingly by, what you and I do in our own professions is just holding the light true to what we do. That will contradict it, because then when people see that there's been a light shined on the bullshit and there's another person that's staying in their light, they can see the contradiction, right? It's evident.
100%.
And then we don't feed the disease, right? So I just had to respond to a comment I just saw that was saying that. But anything you want to say kind of before we wrap this conversation up, just get into these tag team readings?
No, I mean, we have all this big alignment that we've had of all these planets at 4 degrees, and guess what? The sun just moved into Leo and it's heading to 4 degrees, so it's going to light all that stuff back up. And I know there was no major happening, and honestly a lot of times these big transits happen. I don't know, sometimes we see big things, sometimes we don't. 'Tis life, right? But I do think that whatever you've been experiencing for the last, I'm going to say 3 weeks, really the last week, I think that if your heart is not aligned with your true path and what you are truly supposed to be doing, who you're supposed to be around, I think that you're going to feel it so intensely, because now the sun in Leo is going to bring all that to light. So everyone's life is different. All of us have different lives. And so wherever you've felt that anything's out of alignment, if it doesn't get cracked into alignment, you're going to feel it.
Yes.
And you're gonna know the answer. And that's the other thing too. Your followers, your people, Scott, the people that watch you and learn from you, they know what's, where to go. We all know the answer. We usually know it immediately. It's a matter of whether we allow ourselves to go with it or not. So
right.
I think that's going to be the big thing that we're experiencing in the next, honestly, couple days.
True. Yeah. And I just want to button that up by saying too that with that said, and like that is going to be more individualized in our lives, because I think a lot of people are really much in tune to what's going on in the external world. Majority of people are really focused, but don't identify what's going on in the external world either. Let it refine you more, because you don't have to identify with because things are going crappy, all of a sudden you have to be going crappy too and experiencing a crappy nature. Just understand what the currents are saying. Because too many people are identifying that because things are shitty, everything else has to be shitty in your lives. Not necessarily. We still can maneuver intuitively around this matrix, like we said before, and that will help others to maneuver around their matrix too, to where we start integrating our own lives together and bouncing off each other more acutely. But we have to detach and disassociate from what's going on in the collective world, but also be objective. And I think that's hard for a lot of people to do, but that's what life is calling us to do. Objective, unaffective, still individualized, but not to where we're so dominated by what's going on with the collective either, or with the charts or with the manifestation and the reads and all that stuff. I think we have to understand there's still an individual journey no matter what. No matter what the weather is, right? So
yeah, it's a lot of work being human. It's a lot of work.
Okay, I know, right? All right, so we'll get into the readings. Not too much, so it's good. So we'll keep it short and simple tonight. We don't want to exhaust each other on this either. But if you guys want to get your questions in, get them in now. And Nina will help you here in the PayPal Venmo links in the description, because we'll be closing them down at 7:15, and so you have 15 minutes to get them in. Okay, so the first question is Ashley Sandoval, and her birthday is 4/6/81, and Long Beach, California, 12:02.
What, AM or PM?
Oh, sorry, PM. I said it in my head. I thought when you say things in your head, but you didn't really say it out loud. That's kind of what happened to me.
Totally.
Oh, Virgo. Okay, and the question is, I don't know, you probably can't read this with the chart, but you can probably see the direction. She's saying, do you see me passing a test I took last Friday? And yeah, I actually do. It reads... I don't know. I just saw an 80%. I don't know why. So maybe it's around that scope of 80%. So, yeah, it feels like you passed. It feels like maybe an average or above average grade, though. But it feels like there's some movement going on there. So I can say yes to that. As the 10 of... You keep getting also the 6 of Swords when I was asking that question too, and the 10 of Cups. So the 6 of Swords, you're moving on up, you're moving. That's a movement card. And the 10 of Cups is contentment and fulfillment. So, yeah. And even if the read is more so that no matter what, if you had to take it again, you'll pass it, and this direction, you'll go in that direction. They're saying. So either way, you will be moving with this direction in that sense. But it feels yes to me, like an average grade. But if you say don't, you probably will get an average grade if you had to take it again, and you'll move forward. And either way, this would be the direction. So that's what I read. So I guess for the astrology on this question, it's more so what do you see more in the career sector and or learning sector?
Yeah, so I definitely see, so I just want to confirm really quick, April 6, 1981, 12:02 p.m. in Long Beach, California.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I mean, definitely shows that you've been studying and working for some sort of greater knowledge. So like a test, right? You've got Saturn transiting your house of knowledge and learning and education. So that totally checks out. That is, I'm sure you've been buckled down and studying, like crazy. As far as passing the test, I would love to know when you get results for it, because where Venus is moving right now, and Venus can often bring beauty, and can bring good news, and it can bring balance and harmony. And I feel like, I don't know if you find out as soon as a week, but definitely I could see within the week you could definitely get good news for that. And then as far as career, you're definitely going through a learning curve right now, and it probably has been extremely challenging, but blessings to come, because Saturn's going to leave. Saturn's going to move out of your house of higher education, higher learning, big test taking. And anytime Saturn leaves somewhere, it leaves a gift, right? Like, it's a learning lesson. It's a lot and it's a struggle, but it's a gift. And so I actually see a lot of gifts coming into your life, like a lot of just positive outcomes from hard work, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's funny because I just like shuffled like 3 times, and the 6 of Swords keeps coming out too, in conjunction too. So that's, again, there might be some travel. There's definitely a lot of movement. So maybe there's an overseas trip you might take. I kind of get a move energy too, because depending on when 6 of Swords comes out or the 4 of Wands, it could just be a new location, new environment, but it could possibly be projections of a move. I would say projections, not so much a move, but there's a lot of move in that sense. So there might be some travel on the horizon too, and or overseas travel too on the horizon as well. So yeah. So sounds good to me.
Ashley's got a great chart, by the way. She's got a really beautiful chart. Yeah.
Good. Yeah, that's good. And there's a lot of movement, I'm sure, too. Like, not just like physical movement, just like even emotional, spiritual movement, it feels like to me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. She was born with a Venus Cazimi, and I feel like that's super positive.
Awesome.
Yeah, for her.
You hear that,
and
Ashley?
it's also in her house of travel. So what was that?
Interesting. That's interesting. It's in the house of travel.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Yeah. That's
Good stuff.
super cool. Yeah, I'm feeling good with the test.
Me too. I saw like 80 or 85 because I was seeing 80 or B or C, so it's like kind of there, like above average, but like it's good enough type of thing. It's not, you're not intended to get like an A+ type of thing, but yeah, it feels good. Okay, next is
I want an update.
Yes, please. And Ashley's always on. So we have next we have Louise Grace. She is December 9th of 1973 in Dublin, Ireland at 1:15 p.m. Okay. And the question is, I left a 28-year marriage, early last year with my 3 older kids. Now the new build project I was doing for the past 12 months has completed. What is next for me in my life path, career, income, style? What message do my guys have to help? Okay. It would be good when you guys ask your questions to not tell us any information. Okay. So we don't need the story because I want to tell you the story. So you're like, oh, wow, he read on my divorce. So anyways, let's see kind of your career, kind of career path, interests, income, all that kind of stuff. Give me a couple seconds. Let me just tune into that because that's broad, but let me pick out specifics. It's interesting. They really encourage you to journal and or write for some reason, or getting into literature. And not that could be the career, direction or anything by any means, but there's some element of writing or automatic writing that I feel would be beneficial for you to do, or journaling right now to kind of express, to get things out. I feel like there needs to be some movement with emotion, actually, in this sense. But what I'm seeing next, like a next chapter, is working with like. I don't want to give you the sense that there's interior design, but really focusing on like home creations, home life, doing things within the home, changing the home, even extending that type of craftiness within other people's homes. So you might be finding some sort of career in the home life, actually, or helping others with their home life. It could be interior design, but they're also showing like antiques or, working with different, old, things in that nature. I don't know what to call them, decor in a sense. But I really see you emphasizing that creative aspect when it comes to home life and helping others to integrate the same in that sense, and finding ways to make money through these type of, I don't know why I'm saying ancient artifacts, and that might make sense. And you might come across as some antiquing that I'm making money, I'm selling this, or and it might sound left field right now, but I feel like it will start to make sense as the months go by, because I feel like September, there's a really big stroke at September for me of where this realization comes into play. And these creative juices will be flowing, I feel, by September, to where you might understand where I'm saying when it comes to this type of home life, decor, antiquing type of ordeal. That will be something that could bring in some even passive income as well. And so, but yeah, they're definitely just surrounding you in like the home arena. And so that's kind of why I think things will start, moving forward, I would say, after this. As far as other relationships are concerned, I don't really feel like, obviously this year is not year of love. It's more so probably like 2028. I don't think love and romantic connection is going to cycle till around that time. Again, you can change this depending on what the currents are, but I feel you're not going to be so focused on romantic relationships in that sense. More about entertaining of things, and they're saying also being very well cultured in a sense too. So perhaps you might even connect with other cultures and other countries and so forth, and get yourself connected with different communities as well too, because that's actually the Three of Pentacles is coming out, and the sense of community integration is more so about culture, actually. So maybe it's like you go to like a third world, not so much a third world country, but an ancient country that has ancient traditions, and you're learning about those sorts of things. It just feels very integrative in that sense. So I am also seeing more travel as well, in that retrospect. So there's a lot. And so a few things will sound left field to you now, but you'll understand, like, as September comes along, you start feeling that desire for that creativity, and when it comes to that home life and or with antiquing or decor to some degree. What do you see in her chart, Heather?
Well, I want to say that, first of all, I always like to confirm December 9th, 1973, 1:15 p.m. in Dublin, Ireland.
Yes.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that right? Okay,
yes.
Cool. Yeah. Okay. First of all, it's so funny that you said writing, because she's got planetary movement to support writing, journaling for sure. And then also to like take it a step further, I don't know if she is a writer, but she definitely has the potential to do writing, like maybe even, I don't know about on a professional level, but like you said, like maybe like a passive income type thing. She also has energy to support doing some sort of interior design, or I'm going to say making things beautiful, right. Making things beautiful, bringing things into harmony. I feel really good I feel like you're probably really close with your kids right now. I know that, did she say that they moved out, or there was something, or she just, I don't know, but I'm feeling like a closeness with them, especially right now, right. Or kind of like expanding your heart out into really trying to connect with them and stay connected with them. Yeah. And I feel like that's probably happening a lot right now. One other thing that you said, and I think it was about, did you say something about travel?
Yes. Yeah. And being cultured. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure. I bet you actually, like, now that you said that, I bet you that's actually going to plant a seed, because she has some stuff coming up in the next, I don't know, like 4 or 5 months that can support her planning some travel, or maybe even like the beginning of next year. Yeah, mm-hmm. For sure. But I think the biggest goal right now is to find, and I know I just said this like on a collective level, but really looking at her chart and everything that's going on, you really got to find like what are your passions? What are you passionate about? What has your heart been calling for? If there were no restrictions, nobody to tell you no, nobody to tell you yes, what would your heart want to do? Right. Start there and like work backwards. What's feasible right now? Mm-hmm. And I think you're going to get so much clarity about what do I go next? But start writing it down. Scott's right. I mean, seriously, that writing right now is going to put things into motion for you and really figure out what you want.
Yep. It's true. And I feel for some reason September is like where kind of like the bell starts ringing on that a little bit for her, you know? So I don't know what's in her transits there, but I just kept feeling September where it's just like, I kind of get it, you know, where it starts to really kind of circulate for her in that sense.
Yeah, I mean, she's got Venus on the move right now, and it's heading towards her 7th house, which is actually the house of relationships. So I was like, I don't know, maybe there is like a little fling. But then when you were like, nope, there's, you know, that's not happening. I'm like, well, we'll see.
Well, no. But that fling might happen. Like, it's very possible because funny. I was going to say, I'm glad you said that because I was going to say there might be like a couple things in between, but like where she really and she might that fling might make her feel like, yeah, I'm not really wanting love until like 2028, to where she settles down. So yeah, there may be something of that, a connection like that, but I didn't really feel like love settling down until like 2028. So I'm glad you said that because I was kind of saying there might be something in between. That,
yeah,
like,
some, you know.
Yeah. Thank
what
you
was
for
that
filling
movie,
the gaps.
how Stella got her groove back or something?
Yeah, right.
Sometimes you just got to get your groove back.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, thanks for filling that gap for me because I was thinking in my head and I didn't say it, but I'm glad you did. Yeah, and so there might be something casual that for sure, and I definitely can underscore that and confirm that too. But that might make you say, yeah, I'm good for now. I don't need to settle down yet again. You know, it might give you that realization. So that's cool. So good stuff there for Luis. Okay, we have Danny. And Danny, do we have your birthday, time of day of you born, and the location for Danny S? I'll just kind of put that to the side. So Nina, can you get Danny S to put her time of birth, her birthday, place of birth, right? Did I say it right? Those things for us so we can pull a chart too. You texted it, Scott. Okay, let's see. Yeah, I have no do not disturb on. I wish I can put it on certain devices, but not on all devices. You know what I mean? Okay, yeah. Thank you, Nina, for being so efficient. Okay. All right, so Danny S. is June 29th and 1973 at 4:12 p.m. in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Yeah, Heather's been lagging. It's best that we can do, unfortunately. So it's not your system. She comes and goes. Hopefully on the recorded it will. So usually when it records,
I'm sorry.
It's not your fault, but you know they just give me a heads up. But I'm just letting people know it's not your computers, and usually it fixes it during the recorded version. So, yeah. Okay, so we got. Well, I was born in Fort Lauderdale. I lived in Boca Raton, Florida. Well, I kind of grew up in Boca Raton, Florida, actually, so perhaps we know each other. Okay, so the question for Danny S. is, if I can get back to that. Venmo needs an update. They really do. Okay, we moved out of state finally 2 months ago, and it was the best decision for my son and I. We really love it here. I also left family of origin being this year too. It's just is now. Please tell me what you see for us in finding our chosen family. Okay, so it's more about community, I would assume, with Danny. Is that what the terminology means, right? So let me see on this. That was a big shift, I feel, for Danny. Like that was a really big. I think there's a lot of shedding layers. This is 2026. I feel for Danny has been like shedding a lot of layers, shedding a lot of emotional baggage of others. I would feel like too. So I kind of want to confirm. This has been a huge kind of an awakening, and I hate to sound cliche with that terminology, but I feel like Danny's like awoken to what was and what is and what needs to be. So I just want to kind of confirm that huge shift, because it was tough, Danny, have you been having gut issues too? Because I feel like lower intestinal bloating a little bit. So I do feel that you do carry a lot of this energy within your solar plexus. And so I think that there needs to be some solar plexus purge. Okay. So, but it's not just on the physical, it's also the emotional. So we just got to align their solar plexus, a bit too, which can be done with dietary aspects. It's interesting because they keep showing, you and your son actually connecting with actually sound healing. I'm seeing a lot of sound and reverberations of sound and connecting with that type of community. And so I think that if you start going to like retreats, or if you start learning sound healing, because they're showing you with the bowl and all that stuff too. But I know I see your son integrating with that as well somehow, and tonality and frequency and of that nature. I think that would be some place that you actually do find community. I don't say think, I see that. And so if you're not doing the sound healing thing now, I would actually start maybe learning more about that and diving deep into that, because they're saying there's something about the sound and tonality that is needed for you to connect in. So I really feel that it will integrate you and your son for sure. And I think it's more about, kind of like creating just the foundation. I'm getting the home vibe as well too. And I'm getting this poetic nature. So it's interesting as well that you might even write music and maybe write it with your son. And so I'm just seeing even writing, poems or poetic sorts of things, and really getting creative and expressing that nature. And again, with sound primarily. I really think that the rest of this year just feels very, I don't want to say like a plateau. It feels like it's about settling in, obviously, from what you've told me. But I feel that energetically too. But they're also showing you working with herbs and also working with like holistic medicines, and they're showing you with like a clay pot and doing the alchemist stuff type of sort of things. I think you have a past incarnation of being an alchemist and working with potions and stuff. So I also feel you kind of going in that direction as well. And I heard camping. So you guys might be doing some like, off the grid stuff, or it's something that's kind of more on lines of camping and getting into the earth as well, because there's a lot of earthy energy I feel around you too. So maybe decide you get a camper, maybe decide just to go camping, and that's a natural thing that you do. I'm seeing more of that integration within the earth in that sense. They're also saying I'm sorry to be long-winded about this, but I'm just getting a lot. Is that you will be connected with ancestry this year. November, you might be having a big spin of connecting with spiritual ancestry, which will open your mediumistic abilities. And also I feel like relationships and love relationships also spawn from that time as well. So when your channel opens up, when you're able to connect with your spiritual ancestry, and you're kind of being like this channel and the music's coming through, I feel like love enters shortly within the next 8 months. Relationships heighten in that time. So there's some sort of like connection, with that ancestry in that November period. And so yeah, I mean, things are really well. I think a lot of what I'm sensing is about foundation, actually, and building new foundations. And so it feels very integrative. And I see you doing a lot with your son in that regard too, which just seems really cool. Okay, interesting. So that makes sense. She said my mom's birthday is November. She crossed. Okay, so that makes perfect sense about her connect with ancestry in November. Okay, perfect. Yeah. So what do you get on that with her chart there?
Are you sure you don't have her chart pulled off and you're not reading it?
I couldn't even read a chart if I had one. No, I don't know how to read a chart.
I know. No, you're just so good. Okay. So
thank you.
First, you are. You're just so good. Okay. One thing that really stood out to me, because it's kind of like with her son right now, is her actual son, not the son in the chart, her actual right. child. And you talked about music or something, and there's energy to support where Neptune's at right now in her house that rules children, higher arts. So getting out with him and crafting, music, all of that stuff, 100%, which I bet you just by the sounds of it and how your read is on her, she's probably already doing. But yes, more of that is going to make him feel like, oh yeah, things are still the same. Even though we're somewhere new, things are still the same. Also too, this move was really, really, really good. It's exactly, I think, what they needed. And also I see, community is definitely going to be found here for sure. Like I think you moved somewhere. Maybe you intentionally knew how the community was. Maybe it was on a whim. I'm not sure, but there's going to be community found there because your chart supports it. And then it was really funny when you said something connecting with like ancestors and, you know, maybe some sort of like, I don't know if it's just like a psychic download, medium connection or something. And I think you said November, and there is energy to support that too, based upon where Venus is right now and where it's heading to Danny's natal Neptune. She has all of that energy supporting that. And I seriously felt like I was listening to a book on tape and I was reading the book as I was listening to it. That's what it was when you were talking. Everything you said is in her chart supporting it.
That's crazy. That's crazy. See, that's why I love doing this.
It's so crazy.
Yeah, that's why I love doing this. I love that, you know, we can confirm each other, right? I love that. That's awesome. But yeah, I think, you know, so.
And one more thing.
Yeah.
You said a relationship that there is energy to support that too. And it could be something totally out of left field that Danny is not expecting. And that it was like, whoa, where did that come from? And it kind of might like rip the rug out from under you, like, whoa.
Right.
Because that's where Uranus is right now. It's in your house of relationships. So it could be like kind of like a blow, like a good blow to the heart, you know, like, whoa, what is this?
Yes.
So don't shut your eyes on that.
Yes, exactly. Or close your heart to it either. I think, you know, Danny, everything feels like it's in the great direction. You know, it feels like it's in a really good direction. So yeah, I guess the only advice is just keep following it, and just allow the channeling process to be as pure as you could possibly can, you know? So good stuff. Another one has to report back. I definitely want to hear. All right. We have our wonderful James. Look at that wonderful James. Let me see here. Let me get him his link. Jamesy Wamesy. James, I'm going to text you the link, James. Okay, so if you're and then it'll be simple from after James on out, actually. So it shouldn't be a long night. We won't exhaust you. Let me I have so many screens up. James, look at your text. I'm going to text you your thing. Okay, sorry. Did I send it to you, right? Yes. Okay, there it is. All right, James, I text you the link, so we'll wait for you to call in, and we'll get a question in the meantime, for time's sake. Next we have is Brandy Ainsley, okay? And Brandy, we need your place of birth, time of birth, date of birth, and that's what we need. So if needed, if you get that from Brandy Ainsley, that'd be great. You could text it to me, and we'll get James in here. Get him on. Let's put him on. Add him in. Add him to the right. There we go. What if we get like 12 people on here? James, so give Heather your chart, please.
April 24th, 1979, Hampton, Virginia, at oh great, I just blanked it. 8:59 p.m.
Just so you know, James.
8:59.
8:59, yeah.
Okay.
When you move the phone, just remember it glitches your internet out. Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying not to touch it.
Yeah, perfect. Just let you know for the future. You would think in 2026 our internets will be like crazy good, but you know, it's crazy, right?
Yeah, you'd think.
You would think, right?
For
okay,
sure.
so what's your question for me as she pulls your chart up?
Well, I know a couple weeks ago I had said in the chat that, I might have to sell the house, but the more research I did, um, I just, I, I don't want to, because if anywhere I seem to want to move to, it's going to cost me more money just to rent like a studio apartment than it is to have my house.
Okay.
And it's like I realized, like, the last time I was on with you and Heather, and I said that 6 weeks, I had forgotten that's actually when I had that 6 week bout of basically just a deep depression. That's right when Mom had fallen,
Yeah.
and her health just started to decline, and so
Okay.
I'm coming up on the third anniversary of her passing in
Went
August
fast.
11th. Yeah.
Went so
And
fast.
so it's like
I
I
can't believe it's
just
been 3 years already.
no, I know. But I was lost for a long time. But it's like now that I'm trying to, I'm pulling out of the hole I put myself in and working on keeping everything. I've kind of pissed off some of my neighbors, and
So, oh well.
yeah,
They'll get over it.
yeah. So it's like I'm torn. I'm really torn on what to do, because it's like if
But
I don't know that I'll.
So I look. This is the read I get on this. You don't have to do anything right now, right? So it's almost like I feel like I don't know if I heard 6 weeks or 6 months. I feel like you just give it a few months. Stay where you're at. Because I also feel like we're in a really interesting economy right now, to where it's everything's quite expensive, and things are not kind of like going in financially with certain things for certain places, and so it's trying to find its rhythm again. And I don't think it'll find its rhythm again until like the next few months, where things become like, okay, it feels more financially, things feel more stable and solid, and even renting places and some, it becomes a lot more easier in the next few months. So I don't think you have to make a decision quite right now. Do you know what I'm saying? So I would say what you should do is say, okay, let me just take a breather on this. I had the idea to move and to sell, but it's maybe not the right timing right now. Because I do feel like there will be a timing where you be able to, at least, it will work out for you financially. It's just not right now. It would take at least a couple months before it starts heading in that direction. So one thing they're saying to do now is to kind of clean out some things. There needs to be some purging of some things, and even some selling of some things.
I still have all their clothes.
So you might just want to, maybe you should purge those things out and start like kind of just, cleaning that out a little bit. Right?
Yeah.
There might be maybe a couple, they're saying there will be a couple things of value that actually could, bring in some money or something too, that might be unexpected. Maybe she has something that actually has worked something like, oh, I didn't expect this. And so I would do with that, and then hold on to things that are, of course, of value, of memory, of value in that sense, But they're just saying like right now it's time to purge, but also to stay put, and then allowing yourself to reposition yourself when the time is right. You know what I'm saying? And you'll know that too. The neighbors, who cares? There's always going to be neighbors, especially when it communities with HOAs, and there's always going to be people who are just have something to say, and just do the best to put your guards up on that. But Heather, what do you see in regards to that? And then, look, and I also got the 4 of Wands in the reverse too, James. So 4 of Wands in reverse is like, do not move, do not sell right now, and because this is my home card for me, so it came the reverse. So it's saying like now, not right now.
Yeah.
Heather.
I should have James. I should have his chart. I should have it saved in my thing, and I don't know why it's not. But I need your place of birth again because I didn't hear it.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Hampton, Virginia.
Hampton. Okay, hold on. I don't. Oh, there we go. Okay, got it. 10-4. I'm on it. All right. Give me just a second here. Sorry.
While she's pulling that up, it's like I've been starting to venture out where it's like, I've done a lot of training for energy healing and things like that, and I just haven't put it into practice. So I'm working on reaching out to people and just asking for testimonials from people as the energy exchange, as I improve my skills and whatnot.
Yeah, no, that's great. And you have you know, where Neptune is right now in your, it's in your house of your home, right? And that's where it's transiting. And that's why you've been like so confused on, you know, what do I do? Do I stay? Do I go? I think that I couldn't agree more with Scott. Like, stay put until you have such a crystal clear answer. And it honestly, it might take a minute before you have a crystal clear answer, but don't make any drastic changes until you are so confident that like where you're supposed to be next. As far as the you know, the direct community with the neighbors and stuff like that, Scott's super spot on with that also. There's a little bit of there's like a confusion. There was a mix up. Like, were they confused about something, or like, and they just like exploded and got mad? I don't know. I feel like there was like a confusion or a misunderstanding of some sort. And you know, like you said, they'll get over it. It'll blow over. It'll get sorted out. It's going to get sorted out, and you'll feel comfortable again there. You also have really positive energy heading towards your house of careers and what you're supposed to be doing and the imprint that you're leaving on this world. But you know, it's you that has to be clear with it, right? Other people see it, and what you're supposed to be doing. It's you and what's going on internally that, you know, you're working through it, and you are working through it, and it is tough. But honestly, like in the coming months, you're going to have so much more clarity with the direction that you're going. It's not, the confusion will end. And I think that's the hardest part, is the confusion in the limbo, you know, that in between space. And that's, those clouds are rolling out.
Yeah.
All right.
What do you think? What do you feel about that, Jamesy Boemsy?
Definitely feels good, and it's the way it's been. You know, my energy healing teacher, Sally, who's kind of like a second mother to me now. She's you know, she keeps pushing me. You got to get back into your breathwork classes, teaching your breathwork. You're so good at it. And you know, when I went through all of my trainings, you know, my universal white time training, which is the healing modality, I've gone up to essentially the next level is teaching it. You know, all the people that I took the classes with were like, you're a really strong healer. And for me, I'm so analytical that it's very challenging for me to trust in the unseen. You know, and you and I have talked about it, Scott, how challenging it is for me to.
We're losing your audio, James. Yeah, it's starting to crack out. But I will say this, that yeah, you should definitely be continuing, like, again, consistency with your breath work, right? And because consistency is going to be key with all that, you know.
And also to like to add on, I just looked ahead a little bit, and by March of next year, which I know can sound like a lifetime away, but really in the big scheme of things, it's not. But by March of next year, you're gonna realize how emotionally strong and stable that you really are because of all the things you've been through. You're gonna feel that stability and go, wow, I just made it through that. So remember that, March of next year.
Yeah. All right, James. Pretty clear, right? We lost your audio. Yeah. We lost your audio, but hopefully that makes sense to you. And, you know, go ahead. You're saying? Yeah, your audio's gone. No. Nada. But anyways, hopefully that makes sense to you. Like, you know, everything. I love what everything that Heather was saying too, especially the prospects, and focus, be consistent with your breathwork expression. The key is the consistency of that, so it can evolve and grow. But you don't have to make any decisions right now, at least not until the next few months. Like, you'll feel like an inspiration, but just focus on the purge right now. Okay. All right, James. We don't hear you. But we love you, but listen to it back, okay? Listen to it back too. All right? Ciao, brother. Love you. Bye. Take care. Yeah, it's tough with the internet. You think it'd be like really good by now, right? By 2027. Okay, let's get to these questions. We don't to ones that didn't leave their information. I'm just going to just do the questions. So Brandy says, do you see me relocating or staying in my current location for the next few years or so? Do you see me having a big employment transition for the next few years, such as leaving my current job or role? Let me see about that really quick. I'll answer the two questions at once. Yeah, the few years or so is kind of it feels more like probably a year and a half of that relocation for me. It doesn't feel like it's soon, but it doesn't feel like it's far out either. I was getting more like a year and a half time frame, it feels like. And so any type of big employment transitions, I wouldn't say transition. I felt like a relocation with that as well. So yeah, like it's almost like there's a movement with position. So I don't know if it's like a major transition as is kind of more of an elevation, and I saw more of an independent aspect. Here's Brandy's information, by the way. It's May 18th, 1975. Sorry.
Okay. No, it's okay.
I'm trying to like speed read these. May 18th, 1975, 2:59 a.m.
Okay.
That's Atlanta, Georgia.
Atlanta, Georgia.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you.
But yeah, I definitely see move. I feel like right now, the emphasis isn't so much on location or job. It is actually more about your emotional well-being. They're really saying to center things more around health, change of health. Not that there's anything wrong with health, but more of an emphasis on health and lifestyle, they're saying. And I think that will be the catalyst that pushes you into a relocation in that year and a half time frame. And, with employment in your job around that same time too, it does feel parallel, a shift in, move, but also shift in your work. But it feels like a leveling up and more independent. I didn't want to say remote, but it felt like something where you're more independent with it, or at least able to travel with it in a sense and not be locked down in that sense. But right now they're saying, what's the lifestyle aspect, and really integrating with the lifestyle of, of emotions, health, and that whole aspect until those changes happen in the next year and a half or so, as I would say. But it feels good. I feel like you're fun. I hate to say this. It feels more about finding your swag. It feels more about finding your sensuality. It feels more about like relationships and integrations of that. Not so much change or move or career right now, but and just the emotional, expression and the emotional encompassment. It feels like it should be the focus and or the expansion expressions. What do you see in Mrs. Brandy's chart?
Yeah. Once again, like totally supporting what you're saying. When you're talking about the lifestyle, that's where I think starting in the next couple days for the next 18 months, health and lifestyle are going to be a big focus, and it's really good. They should be. Taking a look at maybe how you've been living the last 18 months and what kind of improvements you can make just to live a happy, healthier life, right? And feel all around better. So the energy supports that for sure. Did you say anything about like a December timeline? Or no?
I was saying like in a year and a half time, where I felt the move in the business will like shift. Yeah. But what do you see in December?
Well, I feel like in December she might have like an inkling of what's going to fire her up in her career choices, like where there's going to be a pivot that's going to I keep getting the words like fire her up or just ignite her a little bit, or bring that so that she knows which way to go and what brings her life into more of a harmony that she's enjoying it, right? Brings like beauty to her life, and it's going to be like within the career. And I feel like sometime around December-ish that could happen. Definitely probably a lot of I know just right before you stopped reading, you said something about emotional stuff, and I feel like this Mercury retrograde the last like 3 weeks was probably I mean, it was an emotional retrograde. It really was for everybody, but I bet you Brandy felt it. I bet you she felt it pretty intensely. And there was a lot of up and down of emotions and things that just like, how do I feel about that? And, where am I going to go with that? A lot of, questions and direction, finding direction with how she feels about things. Also too, like, I don't know if there's any changes or anything like within her home, but there's definite energy supporting changes within the home, or switching it up, doing something different, thinking a little bit differently about your home. Maybe you're thinking of a different house or different place to live or different people to live with, but there's energy supporting that too. Honestly, and like love life too there could be something like going on with the love life right now. Maybe, I don't know if there's some changes with that, changes in the lifestyle with a partnership.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I was feeling too.
Yeah.
So yeah, but like the shift in the move that you asked, the move seems like about a year and a half. That move or promotion or shift in the independence with career. It's not. I think it's like emotional resituation, in the lifestyle and health. Not that there's anything wrong with your health, like I said before, but it's just like understanding the focus of like what fits in with you emotionally and and how that integrates with work and all, like you were saying. So yeah, that's what we feel. Yes, she says, yeah, see, we were both on the money there. Yeah, I'm looking to declutter, but also considering a move related to my love life. Perfect. Yeah, so you guys might, decide to do so later on, but I think in the talks of that might be, going on right now, but I think that you'll find a perfect place in about that year and a half time frame. It doesn't seem any longer than that for me, though. It doesn't seem like 2 years. But, when you find the place, go through the whole, process of moving, and the psychic timing could fluctuate on that too, but it feels like I don't feel any longer than a year and a half, I would say, if I want to put it in that way. Within a year and a half is a time frame. So yeah, I think you're both on the right the right avenue, for all that stuff.
Yeah, Brandy definitely has some changes going on though, for sure. But that's good. Change is good, right?
Yeah.
Change is good.
Change is really good.
Switch it up.
All right. Next we have Iris Simpson, and I'm gonna give that really quick. It's 5/15. 1960, 10:20 a.m. in Wilmington, Delaware.
Delaware. Iris?
Yes.
I have irises tattooed all over me.
Do you?
Yeah. I love irises.
And so, question is, will I be in a relationship this year? Well, let's see.
Oops.
Do I see it this year? Do I see it next year? Where do I see it? I don't feel like it's this year. I feel like you have some decluttering to do. It's more so I feel like there's an emotional decluttering that needs to be done right now, during this time. Are really finding your voice. So I think it's more about gathering your emotions this year more than anything. It opens in February of next year for me. So February of next year for me feels like that's where things open up for potentials of love. I do feel like you will meet someone very generous. So there is a relationship that I feel that will potentially happen next year. That could vary depending on your movements and your decluttering processes. But February seems a time where that does open up, and I feel you'll meet someone who's very generous, has a generous nature, generous spirit, and does bring a sense of newness, in your life in that sense. So there's that coming in. It's just right now you have to finish the emotional purge. And I just feel too, there's still like a lot of resistance and or resentment around the mother energy that also needs to go. And it could be subconscious stuff. or release of burden and guilt and all that stuff that needs to be kind of let go or put into proper perspective for you, which will help you to move forward emotionally with relationships as well. So, so that's what I'm sensing with, you know, as far as love, it's more so, it feels next year, but I feel like a generous person coming in, you know, so it feels good in that sense, but not this year. Really quickly with you, Heather, on this, it's just a simple question, just about the love.
Yeah. Okay. I wanted to check to see what was happening like in February, and you definitely have a relationship turnover. So I don't know what relationships have looked like, but things are definitely shifting. There is a birth, death, transformation process happening in your house of relationships. So whatever the past has been, it's shifting for sure. And 100% what Scott says, February, it definitely opens up, even more specifically, like beginning of March. So you definitely have someone coming in that can be of a more gentle nature and really like a true love. Really like meant to be, you know, kind of a relationship that comes in for sure. And then as far as like the decluttering, you know, that's just where I'm going to go like intuitively. Like I always say, when you want to call in love, what kind of person do you know, want that? What do you want your house? And I don't mean your physical house, but you and what you represent as like who you are. What do you want it to look like when they knock on the door and open it? Right? So like if you're actually decluttering a home, like how do you want your home to look? If you're decluttering your life full of toxic friendships or, you know, just maybe habits that are less than favorable that you need to clean up, what do you want this person to see and what are you going to attract and call, right? So yeah, I think a February, March timeline is a really good timeline, and it could start to percolate a little bit at the end of the year. I see potential for that, but I think it would become like serious more like end of February, beginning of March.
Yeah. Good stuff. At first, I was like, I don't know. I'm like, oh, there is something. A lot of times I read, I'm like, I don't know. And then I'm just like, I read, I'm like, oh, there is something there, you know? Because initially I'll pick up on their despair. Initially I pick up on the despair of not having a relationship. And then I'm like, okay, I pick up on there's despair about one. And then I'm like, oh, there actually is one there. So I like when I have a pleasant surprise when I peek in to the trajectory. So
Totally.
But she confirmed too, because she says she's been dealing with taking care of her mom. So I think that's been her anchor and a lot of the emotional, like I was saying before, you know, the mother energy. So I'm glad she confirmed that, because I think, especially when you're caretaking a mom, it's hard to like find space for yourself. You know, there's that guilt, like I said before. So that makes
100%.
sense. So just find a balance of that. You can still, I was telling this to another client, you can take care of a loved one and be there for a loved one and still live your life too. It doesn't have to be either or. You know, just delegate the time and space for that. You know, so many people like, I'm a caretaker and that's their full-time identity. It's like, no, you can do both. You don't have to leave mom, nor do you have to leave your life either. That generous person I feel coming in also maybe even helps with that, you know, so.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. We actually have a question from my partner, which I'll strictly let you do because I know him. So his name is Eric, as you know, and it's 2/14. He's born on Valentine's Day.
Oh, that's adorable.
Yeah, and that's funny. He's born on Valentine's Day. I'm born on Groundhog's Day. Isn't that funny? And it's 7:52 p.m.
What year though?
And that was 19. What year, Eric? Well, he's 40. I think he's 79.
What time?
7:52. Let me just make sure.
Oh yeah, no, I'm
79.
79, 7:52 a.m. or p.m.
p.m.
Okay.
So his question, I think this would be good because I've been telling him about. He's been asking me, and I've been telling him. But you can
hold on.
confirm.
Where?
Oh, sorry.
Where?
Lincoln,
Okay.
Illinois.
Lincoln, Illinois. Okay. Okay. Okay.
So you just
there.
it's more about his work. So he's saying, do you see my psychotherapy business growing into a group practice with multiple people working under me? If so, when? Or I just continue to do a solo practice owner?
Okay, so oh wow. Eric's a Virgo rising.
Like me, yep. He's Aquarius, Virgo.
God, his chart and my chart are almost identical. That I was like tripped out for a second because I was like, whose chart is this?
I love it.
Yeah, really similar. Okay, so work stuff must have been like in emotional turmoil lately because that's where Mercury just went retrograde, was through his house of career and, you know, legacy, all that stuff. Like what kind of legacy is he going to leave behind? Is it going to be all these people working under him? Is it a solo practice? So there is energy for it to be a practice with multiple people working under him, but honestly it might be a while. Like I don't know when his timeline is, but I'm seeing like a while. I could like narrow down a little bit more of a date, just like playing around with this a little bit, but I see that he's like really wanting that. He's like really wanting that to happen, but like when, how am I going to get there? And there is potential for it, but it's going to be a minute. You know, and listen, that's just the energy that the universe is giving you. You can always force things to happen earlier, but there is, you know, potential for it to, you know, start within the next couple weeks too. But like, does Eric really want to start that in the next couple weeks? No, you want to like take your time with it. Right. So, but there's definite possibility for that for sure.
What do you think his focus? What do you think his focus will be on now? And you know,
focus like for now with work. I would say thinking about like, you know, I don't know if he has. I don't even know. You said he does therapy. He's a therapist.
Yeah.
And working solo. I mean, like, you know, is it something that you want to start? You know, if I have this person working with me, like, what does that look like? So making more of like a business plan, but almost like hypothetical. So you can start bringing it in. Like, what is it mapped out, or is it just a thought right now? I would say start mapping it out, right?
Yeah.
Line up like what you want it to look like and what those people that can really continue on the type of practice that you want upheld. Right, because that is your legacy.
It's got to come. I was telling him like the biggest thing is what's going to come from the heart. You know, because he's been, of course, Virgo rising, right? And he's been thinking about what he should be. And I'm like, what at the end of the day, what do you want to do? How do you want to do it? That's what I've been trying to tell him lately. And I think that's where, I don't know if that's showing in this chart. If you see emotionally in this chart that it needs to be emphasized more about the heart when it comes to other things other than relationships, like, and I think he's got to feel like what drives him, what makes him. And I've been telling him to reach beyond, you know, other things like psychedelic therapy and other things too. And I know he can't do it as a therapist, but like, I just felt him being called to think outside the box and finding a passion with it. You know,
first of all. Yeah, like he cannot operate in the daily lifestyle unless he is communicating from the heart. And for him, a lot of communication is with, it sounds like, clients and patients, right? And everything has to be, because I mean, he was born with his sun in his sixth house, right? So that is his lifestyle, and the sun is his heart. And so if it is not in every single thing, nothing is going to come natural. So you're spot on with that, right? And all those lifestyle choices, and especially when it comes to work and what he does on a daily, you know, routine, it's all going to start to come into alignment once that heart is dialed in. Like, so I don't know if like money's on the brain or success or how can I, you know, make this bigger and better and whatever. Well, it's all going to start like right here. Right. Like, so I keep getting is what kind of legacy he wants to live on with this practice. So if the practice is Eric's therapy spot, like how does he want that to be remembered? You know, what do people remember when they think about, you know, what he's left behind as a, you know, as a practice.
Right.
And then you work backwards. Right. So you start there with, that's how I want to be remembered. And then you work backwards.
Right. It's funny because he's an emotional person and it's like, well, we got to that's your whole issue right now is putting that into your work, you know? And because I feel like if you don't, then it's like things stall. Things will start stalling and like, you know?
It doesn't work.
It won't
work.
The
flow stops. The flow totally stops.
The flow, it stops the flow. Right, exactly. It stops the flow.
Yeah.
And so it's a simple thing. So I've been saying, babe, think outside the box. How do you want to do your work? how do you want to do it? Instead, like, I need the clients, and and so I think that's where the needle will move. I feel, I felt like the people working under him is not as fancy as he think it will be, or would not as easy to think it will be, and so he might enjoy doing it independently for a while and just realize, you know what, I'm doing it the way I like to do it, and this is pretty good. I'm making money. I'm not having to deal with all this other crap, right, and legalities. So,
Totally.
And
I could see, honestly, like another like 5 years before, like, before something like that is like really set in stone.
Right. I see him turning his nose up at it, actually, being like, I don't want to do that.
Maybe. Maybe he goes back and forth with it so much that he's like, you know what, never mind.
Right. He's like, I'm good. I found my niche and how I want to do. I'm making good money, and this is good. That's what I feel. And then potentially like somehow him working with me and all this other stuff, so. All right, so let's get to the last two. So see that, Eric? So you got to listen to me when I read you. Next we have.
Listen, I know. Yeah. I threw a reading at you a couple of weeks ago. I'm like, I need you to read Nick because. I'm done reading.
That's so funny. I love it. Next we have Pamela Johnson, and she is November 26th, 1952, and Toledo, Ohio. She put 4:43, but Pamela, I need to know if it's at AM or PM. So Nina, can you find if Pamela is 4:43 AM or PM? Feels like a PM. Pamela Johnson, you there? Is it 4:43 AM or PM? And Nina, you can get her figure out. And we have one more after this, and we're done.
I love this. Thank you so much for having me on and getting to read these people. It's so cool.
Yeah, I mean, I want to get you in the swing of doing it.
Yeah, I love
want
it.
You on because I want you to get in the swing of doing it and read and all that great stuff. Yeah, see,
you've got great people, so it's an honor. It's PM?
Yes, PM. Yes.
Okay.
I didn't. Okay. I mean, so I said I felt it was PM, and I like, because in readings you don't get so validated because people are in their tears and you predict stuff. But I just love getting the validation of the psychic ability on camera.
Oh yeah,
is that bad? I mean, not for me. It's just I like to prove the space exists. I'm like, yeah, psychics are real. Like, here's. I like that.
Of course.
Not so much look at me, but look, psychics are real. We are real. This is, okay.
Yeah.
And so the question she has is, my husband, Eric Frank Johnson, has kidney disease at 73. I think this is for her, Eric. This is for her husband, actually. So that's her husband's chart. Perfect. Okay. So this is her husband's chart. Okay. So he has kidney disease at 73. The kidney doctor says dialysis. 2 other doctors say he doesn't need it yet. What do you see from him in the next couple of years? Date of birth. Okay. So that's Eric's chart, Eric Frank's chart for Pamela. Honestly, I'm just going to be quite frank. I think that whether he has dialysis now or later, he's going to need it because I feel like he's on a health decline. He's definitely on a major health decline. I do feel that there are people around that perhaps might be just, also scamming and scheming off his condition and, trying to make money off of him too. So you got to be careful about any type of practitioners around that might be giving false information. So I feel that they've been taking advantage of that. And so I do really feel too that, he's not really going to change much with his health, and I feel like it is going to be in decline. And so, perhaps even when I hate saying stuff like this, but I also feel that it's kind of known or obvious that this significant decline may lead to him deciding to make his transition. I'm not saying he will, but it will be in the talks of such. In the next few years, because I just sense a massive decline in health, but also not wanting to do much about it, or at least letting go of it. Saying I'm giving into it. But right now I feel like whether it's the dialysis is now or later, I feel like it's around the corner anyway. So there needs to be more focus on health and getting the right advice, because I feel like there might be also wrong advice surrounding him right now too. So in the next couple of years, make sure if he doesn't give up emotionally and just throw in a towel, that you can still encourage him to to take his time, but also be very focused and productive on his health in that sense. So, but I just feel like a lot of people taking advantage or giving the wrong information to him too. So, so for me, it's like if he doesn't get that dialysis now, it's fine, but he'll need it eventually anyway. Right around the corner. So, what do you see with that health question?
Yeah. So, there's, first of all, there's definitely been like a lot of emotions around. I don't know if there's been any emotions like around like finances that have to do with this situation, or something that, or maybe that's like a concern. I don't know, but I definitely have seen like some emotions around that. The whole thing is emotional, and I'm so sorry that they're both going through that. Like Scott said, when it comes to this kind of stuff, it's inevitable that you need kidney support when it comes to kidney disease. And I do see that that there has to be a decision made to, like, sooner rather than later, so that you can help it as much as possible, right? I'm not seeing anything and not picking up on anything about like any deception. I always go with like, talk to two doctors or more, and go with like your gut feeling, and ultimately like he has to make the choice. But I definitely can see that you guys have been very emotional over maybe like about I don't know if the family's involved with it, or if like there's any children or anybody, but it's been like a big, like, oh, dad needs to do this and not, or uncle, Eric, or whatever, whoever's involved with the family. I'm seeing like that there's been a lot of back and forth with that. And so that's got to be a super complicated situation, when you have somebody that needs help, and you're just trying to decide which the best way to go is.
Yeah, that could be very much I feel indifference with the children. Because I feel like I do know there's a separation with the kids. It's to a certain degree in regards to them, and that might cause some fires too. But ultimately, it just boils down to the heart or respiratory, as being the main determining factor of everything. But again, it's just like the decline is in process right now. You know what I mean? So. But I feel like everything will be expected on his journey with this, and I feel like nothing's going to be unexpected. Like when he declines, it's like, oh, we're understanding, we see this, we know this, so nothing feels out of the blue. With that, especially if whenever he decides to make his transition, it'd be like everyone's kind of prepared for that or understands the timing of that. So it doesn't feel again, So I think you nailed it with the family aspect too. The kind of indifference there.
Yeah, I'm seeing some big family stuff coming up. Yeah.
Yeah. But I feel like in the end it will somehow resolve. I feel an exhale, but it will have to go through that chaotic, before it can actually smooth and settle and become quiet moving forward. And honestly, I feel like, there's going to be a lot of reconnection with family once he does pass. And again, I'm not saying it's happening tomorrow. I'm saying when that does actually happen, I feel like things might linger with the family. Things might start circulating. And it might come up with anger, but also might come with like some at least discussions as well. So that could actually be, with his passing, could also bring a birth to reconnecting with some of the children in a sense, in a different way. So,
yeah.
But understand whether it's now or later with the dialysis question you asked, Pamela, it's really kind of saying it doesn't really make a difference if you did it now or waited actually. So if you waited, it wouldn't be bad. If you did it now, it's like it's around the corner anyway. That's what I feel, in regards to that. All right. We're at our last and final. Okay. And it is for Joanne or JoJo. And, Okay, 1965, and it's September 26th. 1965.
Okay.
And 16:57 p.m., so that's military time.
Oh, so what is that? Is that 4:57? No.
Chat GPT. What is 1600 time? It's 4 p.m.
Oh,
yeah,
it's
so
4:57.
You're right, 4:57.
Yes.
Yep. Yes. And Melbourne.
And where?
Melbourne, Victoria, Australia.
Ooh. Okay.
And this is more a question for you. So, she just says,
Okay.
you know, how does Pluto Uranus conjunct in Virgo influence my chart? It's okay, I can take it.
Oh. Okay, hang on. It's giving me a hard time. Okay. How does I'm sorry, say it again.
How does Pluto Uranus conjunction in Virgo influence my chart?
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah, in her sixth house, yeah. How does it? She's so funny. I can take it. Okay, just don't even worry about that, JoJo, because I have some really tricky things in my birth chart, and I'm still here too, so we can do it together. You know what? I think that my guess is that life has been a lot of unexpected twists and turns. And it's been maybe like in your daily routines, your daily lifestyle, your health. It could have also like affected like relationships too, right? Either one of those, maybe they go together. But I think I think how it affects you is I think you know how to land on your feet. That's what I think. I think you always come out of it. You always figure it out. And you're likely like open to, you know, the possibilities of what the universe has to offer you, because I can take it. Like, I've been through this, I've been through that. And I think that's how it influences you. I think it's kind of your superpower. I don't think it's a detriment to you at all. I think it's your superpower. It just all depends on how you look at it. So I would love to sit down with Joanne and listen to her life story, because I bet it's interesting.
Well, there you go. I hope that answers her question with that, because I mean, I can't answer the chart in a sense, but yeah, I can feel that for sure, actually. So,
yeah. And that was a common aspect. I mean, a lot of people are born around that time had that, like that, you know, so she's not the only one that was born with that. But my guess is that like in your daily life, you've learned how to pivot and you've learned how to do it well.
Yeah. That's great. And again, the astro lingo, I'm like, yeah, sure. You know, I tell you, put a chart in front of my face. I'm like, is that an Aquarius sign? What is that? Why is it over there? I wouldn't know how to read it. Which I kind of glad I don't have all that, because I don't want to rely on that either as a psychic. So I definitely like working with other astrologers. But so we completed it. We nailed it. We done it. We've completed. So all those who are watching, guys, again, it's great to have you. Remember, this is a very simple time of integration. You know, and again, you know, I saw a comment in there too saying that, you know, when we call things out, you know, make sure your shit don't stink. It's just like, we're talking about identifying things that are just not true within yourself too, and with other people. It has nothing to do about being on a high horse. So if you're coming from that position of thinking, then clearly that's where you're at, you know. But you know, having passion about an environment, or passion about things that you want to see grow and to be better and to be nurtured, doesn't necessarily mean that we're walking on our high horse. Because again, when we know how to evolve our own stuff and be very transparent, I've been very transparent with stuff in my life since on here as well. So that doesn't mean that we don't, you know, want change. Because we want change doesn't mean that we have to now not want change because our shit don't stay. It's just that mentality is just so aggressive, and it's so complacent. We could be objective, and I'm very clear. Like, the things I talk about, I always practice in my life, and the things I don't practice, I don't talk about. And so the things I speak about, I know. And so otherwise I keep my mouth shut. And so, and people in my life can testify. Actually had a reading with someone too who watches my live shows, and she had a first reading with me one-on-one. You know what she said to me? She goes, wow, you're the same person on YouTube. And I'm like, I was kind of taken aback. I'm like, why wouldn't I be? But then I realized a lot of people are just phonies. They're not real, you know? And so, which I was flattered by that, but I'm like, well, of course I am. But then I'm also like, God, like how many people has she seen that are opposite, you know, than that? And there's a lot out there, you know? So, so no, you can still speak up about things. And like I said before, that you have, when you're holding your light and the truth and you're doing, you need to do, and you're staying humble and you're staying in the light of what you're doing and you're being honest and truthful and transparent. Yeah, it's okay to call things out. And obviously someone got offended by that, which is telling.
Well, you know, and I think also too, Scott, I think you and I are willing to come out here and talk and, like you said, be transparent, right? And I think that's what it is. I think we're willing to like kind of put ourselves out there and
Sure.
be real, right?
Well, yeah, and
we're willing
I get a lot of shit for even that, for speaking against the grain. I get a lot of crap for that, and you know, I'm very raw. I don't, you know, I'm unfiltered, and you know, even when I was like practicing the manifestation stuff, I came out when I realized all that stuff was kind of wrong. I came out and said I was wrong about that stuff. You know, I wrapped and I explored it, but you know, of course, now I come out, you know, now and I was talking against about the sensationalism of it, and I'm just like, yeah, I've been through that, and I even leave my manifestation master book on my website that I wrote 10 years ago because to show people where I've evolved, you know. And so I'm not going to wipe that clean. I keep all that stuff on there to say, look at my evolution. Yeah, I did talk about that. Yeah, I've been through this stuff. And so I don't know, I had addressed that. It was misinterpreted in a way that was not cool, but you know, I appreciate you coming on, and again, we'll do something.
Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for being here, and we'll figure something fun. We'll figure something fun too for next month. You know, we'll maybe get some in-depth topics, and we can plan and go deep. You know, I feel like today people just need a lightness of just direction, not an oversaturation of philosophy and spiritual ideology. I think we would just need a lightness of like, where are we at? What can I focus on? You know, so I appreciate you. And guys, everyone who's watching, I appreciate you all. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your evening. See y'all next Thursday. Remember, you're all the gods and goddesses of your myth. What do you want to create? Much love. And yeah, book a session at scottcruzpm.com, one-on-one sessions, and you'll get your social media in gear too, Heather, so they can find you at some point.
It's in gear. It's totally in gear. And I have my website up there too.
Where is it?
It's, well, if you go to love_studio H, which is where I'm at right now, and my website's right up there, and the, whatever it's called, and the things on the stuff.
Okay. I would have put it on the screen. I wish I'd known that. Okay, great. So follow her there, and we'll get it on the screen next time you come on. All right, guys. Have one night. Stay backstage with me as I just close out here, okay? And good night, guys. See you all next week. Ciao.
Scott Cruz is popularly known for his life-changing one-on-one readings to also guide in your soul ascension journey. With life readings, get insight into your relationships, career, health, trauma healings, past life regressions, and more. Want to connect with a loved one who's transitioned? Scott's mediumship session can be the gateway to you and your loved ones in spirit, bridging the gap between the physical and the spiritual realm. If you want to enhance your own psychic ability, Scott's Intuition Builder session can help expand your psychic and mediumship abilities. So sign on to scottcruzpm.com to book your own personal session today.
Okay. Are we offline? Yeah. Okay. Oh, no.